Hey everybody, a new episode of Welcome to Night Vale dropped this morning, and I actually had time to listen to it just by itself without being on a commute for once. This one is called The Mudstone Abyss Part 1, which immediately got me excited because, number one, the episode description says we were going to hear from Kevin, and two, the Mudstone Abyss immediately makes you think of the brownstone spire, which is one of my favorite features of Night Vale. The episode begins, the phrase beautiful smile is redundant. Welcome to Desert Bluffs. And I love that Desert Bluffs intro, how it mirrors Welcome to Night Vale, but has its own creepy flair, because it's creepy in a completely different way, right? It takes everything that you think is creepy, excuse me, takes the happiness to the extreme so that it's creepy in that way. I can't stress enough, I love Kevin, even though he's super creepy and, really disturbing, especially the last time we heard from him, which is the episode Triptych. The fact that this episode's multi-part, just got me really pumped to listen for more Kevin. Not only is Desert Bluffs rebuilt, which we learned in the last episode, not only is Kevin the true shadow leader of the town, which also begs the question, does Cecil do that in Welcome to Night Vale? And we don't see that part. How much effect does Cecil have on the town? Is it as much as Kevin has on Desert Bluffs? But we also got the Desert Bluffs version of a lot of Night Vale stuff. So we got the city council, who are actually all just Kevin's church members, whose names all start with K. That makes me wonder, is there some sort of name hierarchy? Because the mayor, Lauren, who was the boss in the Strex Corp Desert Bluffs, her name begins with L, which is after K. We also got the Mudstone Abyss, which is great after the plot we got earlier in the year with the Brownstone Spire and how it can change reality. The religious connection kind of makes me think, is the Brownstone Spire just a throwaway religious artifact, or is it somehow a monument to Huntokar, who seems to be the god of Night Vale, kind of like the Smiling God is the god of Desert Bluffs? We got Josephine O'Toole, who we knew about before. She's the analog of Old Woman Josie. But in this episode, we not only learn that, unlike Josie, she's still alive, but also she travels with demons who hand out money. So it's the exact opposite of Old Woman Josie. I wouldn't take that money. That's just my advice. We get Charles, who is like Carlos in every way, except he's a theologian instead of a scientist. But since Kevin runs a church, it seems like they're a little better matched than Cecil and Carlos are. Interested to see how that goes. Kevin seems to be moving a little faster with that than Cecil did. We get Pine Cliff mentioned again. I feel like the ghost incident that turned everyone in Pine Cliff into ghosts is going to actually become important, because they've mentioned it 3 times so far in the podcast, 2 times in the last 2 episodes. So I think that's probably going to be something they focus on, especially since Charles from Desert Bluffs was studying it. So I feel like our Carlos will also want to study it at some point. I love the little touch that Charles is someone that Kevin would like to keep an eye on, so to speak, because if you listen to Welcome to Night Vale and have been paying attention, Kevin's never fully described, but it's implied that he has empty eye sockets, or that his eyes have been gouged out. He can still see, because this is Welcome to Night Vale and stuff is weird, but it's definitely implied that he doesn't have eyeballs, so he can't keep an eye on somebody. Kevin almost went back to Night Vale through an old oak door to the dog park, and I think that's amazing to think back, this is the same desert otherworld that Dana found way back near the beginning of the podcast, after Sandstorm, and it's the same dog park that was mentioned in the very first episode. It makes you wonder how much Night Vale City Council knows about how these worlds are all interconnected, and why they didn't want anybody to go in there. We see Desert Bluffs is back to their old forced labor ways, although with a church instead of a corporation this time, just a slight variation. There's that phrase from BioShock, there's always a man, there's always a lighthouse, kind of things repeating, maybe Desert Bluffs is just always destined to be this way. I'm really interested to see where the second half of this episode goes. we saw in Triptych, which was the last time we saw Kevin, or we think we saw in Triptych, that Kevin's new Desert Bluffs doesn't exactly go as planned. Maybe that was the first Desert Bluffs, maybe it's this one. Time is weird in this show. But if Triptych is true and not just glimpses of possible futures that Cecil was hearing, then Kevin meets like a really bad end full of regrets. And as creepy as monstrous and creepy as he is, like, I still feel bad for him when I heard that episode. So I'm kind of on pins and needles to see what's going to go on with the rest of this arc. I don't think they'll get quite that far here. I think they'll drop it, and then maybe 40 episodes from now we'll get more. But that's it. This was a really good episode, probably one of the best in quite a bit. And we'll see where the second half goes.